Warning, this video is not made for kids. If you're a kid, go away. So my very first video was about Ed, Edd, and Eddy Creepypastas. When I first made this, I wasn't expecting it to reach over 50 views, but to my surprise, it managed to get a little over 400, which doesn't seem like a lot, but keep in mind this was my first video. Most YouTubers would be lucky to even get 100, let alone 400, and as of now, it's over 700 views. Personally, I think that this is my best video, second being my FNAF review, but it's interesting how much that video changed over the months of production. It originally started out as a video essay going on about the dark and creepy undertones of Ed, Edd, and Eddy, but I'll get more into that in my next video. What's more important is that I went over 4 different Ed, Edd, and Eddy creepypastas, those being episode 34, Purgatory Fury, which I think is extremely overrated, the 4chan game, my personal favorite, and Mayfire. Originally I was going to have 2 other creepypastas in this video, but I cut them out as I wanted to get my first video out before December, which was a stupid move on my behalf. Stressing myself out for no reason at all on a video that was supposed to be made for fun, but luckily enough, these video quickies have taken a lot of the stress off. And in this quickie, I'll be going over the first creepypasta to get the axe, and then next week I'll go on to the other one that was cut. And this pasta I'll be reading today is You Forgot. I haven't read this since I made that video, so I don't really remember much of what happens besides from a few details, so let's see if this story was snubbed out unfairly or did I dodge a bullet by keeping it out. So, let's read. In my younger days, I was always a fan of cartoons. I still watch them to an extent nowadays, I admit. My favorite genre was varied, but I've always had a soft spot for slapstick humor found on the networks like Nick and Cartoon Network. One of the best ones I've seen and enjoyed was a little show by the name of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. I loved almost everything about it. The premise, the characters, both major and minor, the art style, and the humor of everything being smacked around like nothing happened at all. I don't think I've missed a single episode of it. Me neither. When I was around 13 or 14, my younger brother and I had always watched the show every time it aired. After a while, we came up with the idea of recording some of the episodes on a blank VHS tape. Now, when we needed something to watch when nothing was on, we put in the tape and let the Eds entertain our short attention spans. We keep recording episodes for as long as the tape could hold, and you can bet it had gotten its fair share of use by us. We even wrote the show's name and our own names on the labels of the tape. Now, several years have flown over us. We've grown a bit and the tape has been lost for Lord knows how long. We still catch an episode or 2 if we are bored or channel surfing. These days, I'm either doing something online or just playing games, minding a house of parents. It's an interesting life. One fateful day I have gone for a visit to the old family house to see the Peanut Gang. My brother and I were busy trying to kill each other over a video game Scott Pilgrim, which I know absolutely nothing about that series, when he had taken a bathroom break. Bored half to death, I have opted to wander the house and looking through old cabinets and drawers. As luck would have it, there was our old makeshift Ed tape. To say I was happy was an understatement. I had found something of my childhood that you can call our first project for stupidity. At the end of the day, I took it back home and set it aside. Unfortunately, we had no VHS player with us at the time, since DVD and Blu-rays have abducted them all back to the big tape player in the sky. I mean, I'm pretty sure when this pasta was written, they already had Ed, Edd, and Eddy DVDs. I mean, I know the full series hasn't been released yet, but Season 1, 2, and a few other DVDs were released, so just buy them. Sometime in the new year, I was setting boxes from the recent Christmas in the back room. I found a bundle of old technology just gathering dust. An old Nintendo, a CPU that I'm sure was running below Windows 98 if such thing existed. I mean, yeah, Windows 95. And lo and behold, an old VHS cassette player. Now right off the bat, I completely forgot why I wanted this in the first place and left it alone. But after seeing the tape still dusting on my dresser, I dashed right back to pick it up. God damn, you didn't just notice like just giant dusty brick on top of your drawer? So you can guess what happened next. Episode after episode, I smirked and watched the memories flood. The quality was a bit horrid, but I just ignored it. It was pretty normal as far as old recorded VHS could go, I guess. I just sat back and enjoyed the shows. I was happy with myself. I can name each episode before the title card swung by. However, one episode started a bit differently, as the title card didn't play after the opening sequence. It just dove into the episode without a word, which from the start I could recognize as a twist of Ed. The episode played as usual. Ed was his normal, happy, somewhat self as he cleaned the table and continued to name off the things he re-whatevered. Why just call him Double D? Like, there's a reason why, like, they gave Double D a different name so you don't get the two Eds confused with each other like here. Right after he finished, the screen flickered and the color was in black and white for a second or two. It was back to normal again as soon as Ed was running off to pick up the lipstick, as the episode was meant to do. But he didn't. Instead, he used his unusual run over to it and lifted up nothing. The lipstick was gone. Ed's animation still played as if he was holding it, yet his dialogue conventionally omitted the words "lipstick dispenser in my backyard." His animation clearly had him speak in the lines, but instead a low droning sound played as he spoke. This continued up until he was looking around nervously. At this point, I was waiting for the scene to play out. Marie Kanker was supposed to launch out and attack Ed. Fuck it, I'm calling him Double D. But instead, the screen dimmed and returned to black and white. Double D wasn't moving anymore, and instead was frozen still. Not even the usual movement of the outlines. The brightness was flickering as droning and crackling of the audio somehow got louder and louder. It remained as Double D's next line nearly broke my eardrums. "Please, no! You wouldn't dare!" I tried to lower the volume with the remote, but it didn't operate at all, which, considering the remote was working just fine to turn it on and fast forward a little while ago, was more than unusual. I tried to fast forward, rewind, stop. Everything I tried had no effect on the remote. Finally, the scene began to play again. I saw lovable Ed overfilling his cereal bowl as it was meant to be. At this point, the remote seemed to be functioning well again. I could change the volume as well as stop if I wanted to. I let my heartbeat settle down as I hit the play and let it continue on. The episode played without a hitch as Double D was running to hide in the van in the junkyard with the other two. They exchanged their issues and Double D shouted at Eddie's stench. Oddly enough, although it was correctly used, Double D's dialogue always sounded off. It wasn't as loud nor as energetic as he should have sounded, and strangely enough, his colors were washing out and faded. Other than that, everything looked and worked well enough. The scene slowly stuttered and flickered again, however, as Ed got into the back of the van to lay down and ponder, he was once again emotionless and the screen seemed to dim as he folded his arms and laid still. Eddie and Ed were still going on as usual, repeatedly chanting, "Think, think, think, think." The volume again peaked and crackled over the speakers, as their chanting started to really get skewered. The sound was hard to describe, but at the best it sounded like words were being screamed by someone who was in severe pain. Ed himself was silent, only the low droning from the before playing out as the scene had focus on him struggling to think. Ed slammed on the horn as the scene originally did, but the horn did not sound at all. Only the sound it gave out was a strange, sickening crunch. The incredible volume was unbearable now. The remote again rendered useless. I had enough and stood to just shut it off myself. However, before I could, the screen fell into pitch black as yet another scream from Double D echoed out painfully loud. "Help me!" I stood frozen, my hand already extended to shut it off, and everything. Okay, that was unnecessary detail and everything, you don't have to put that in there. The episode continued on and seemed to skip ahead as I was now watching the Kankers walk around a goofy smiling Ed. I just stayed up and watched. I was curious now, and it was obvious something was off. You just now realize that? For one thing, it was strange how these errors are completely gone from the rest of the tapes since the episode prior to this one was completely clean. No bugs or volume changes. No different brightness problems, nothing at all. As the scene panned to focus on Double D and Eddie in the tree, concerned about Double D's plan to use reverse psychology, there was a serious issue, namely in the lack of Double D. He wasn't in the shot at all. The spot where he was supposed to be was just a shade of purple, as was the rest of the tree. The rope that held him in the tree was gone as well. Eddie was looking over and was talking as if he was still there, but yet no audio again. Now his dialogue was low and sounded like a low drone. save for one clear as day part in his words, "Ed's a goner." Now, the line was obviously used to reference Big Ed down below, but it was still pretty chilling to hear that since Double D, or Ed, don't really have any differences in their pronunciation. The scene continued on, Ed really giving those kinkers a run for their money. Now the screen really fucked up. At the point where Double D was supposed to run by with his quip of, "We're not done yet, Eddie," the screen went black and white yet again, with an even louder static explosion. I couldn't hear myself as now I was cursing up a storm. I went to reach again for the power on the TV, but again, I was cut off by something else. The screen was still in fucked up mode, and the static breaking my ears in the brightest dim to can't see shit. However, it brightened a bit and showed the scene was different. I was looking at what looked like the wooden plank wall that the Eds usually either break or sit on. I don't know why that sentence was so extremely hard to say. In the very drippy black paint, the words "You forgot" were slapped on. The screen stayed frozen here as I could hear something else coming through the speaker. It was Double D again. He was repeating the line from what I thought was a different episode, and he was joining it on and extending it like someone was deftly moaning out. The static took a stop and was instantly silent as the line was finished. Remember. The screen then slowly brightened, and what was there was disturbing, as now we were obviously at the scene where Double D was calling the kinkers daintily do something darlings, and welcoming them home, as he was supposed to be. But he wasn't speaking, and was frozen in his position as his mouth was wide open in a goofy smile. Black and white coloring was still in full force. The white looking cleaner though through the static, and the black as dark as it could be. When Double D's voice began repeating the word from before, "Remember," it continued on. Double D's animation still frozen as his eyes slowly sank into a dark black. Nothing in sight, as if he lost them. His teeth and tongue were also drowned in black, and burn marks started to appear on the screen. Remember. I had to hold my ears. I don't understand what was going on, and the volume was fucking killing me. He was screaming it now. I swear his voice was fucking screaming right at me from the TV, and the quality was too good for a VHS at this point. He was pissed off. He was yelling at me to remember. I finally gave up and dove for the power button, shutting off the TV with a sweet silence following. I hit eject and took the tape out, though I carefully as the words repeated again and again in my head. Now as I hold the tape in my hand, taking a seat on the couch, I really gave it some thought. I know it's just a tape, and I know it wasn't real. I was probably having one hell of a daydream, but the haunting image of his face, that screaming, just the tone of his voice in which he was screaming, was he angry? Was he mad? And the only conclusion that I had at the moment was, angry I forgot about me forgetting him and or the tape. I forgot him, and I left him alone. I tossed the tape back inside the VCR and resumed from where I left it. The episode played out perfectly with the usual subpar quality of the VHS tape. Ed and Double D were still chasing the kinkers and Eddie was still a pussy. I rewound the tape and played it again. The screen was okay, and the sound stayed the same. Double D was normally speaking and was in the scene as he was supposed to be, as I opted to stay and watched the rest of the tape again and again. The scene of Double D saying, "Love knows no bounds, turtle doves," or something like that. His eyes and mouth were always black. Only here it happens. He won't forgive me. Alright, that was You Forgot, and it's forgotten-able. It's inoffensive and competently written, though some of the sentences were an absolute nightmare to say, and I hate it when any Ed, Edd, and Eddy media uses Double D's real name instead of his nickname. There's a reason why they call him Double D and not Ed, so you don't confuse the viewers. This episode follows the cliche of someone not watching or playing something from their childhood and going back to find out that it's now haunted. Ooh. This type of pasta always made me afraid to abandon the games and cartoons that I love in fear of them becoming haunted. I was a gullible kid, give me a break. You Forgot is okay. It's the very definition of okay. I don't personally find it all that scary, as the horror is pretty much just spooky glitches and 4chan Double D coming back to haunt everyone. I know it's more realistic to have creepy glitches than, characters breaking the fourth wall or coming to life and trying to kill you with a knife, but just because it's realistic doesn't mean it's interesting. Sometimes realism is kinda boring, and in this story it's, not realistic. The tape is pretty much well aware. Double D is sentient, but he doesn't do much but, just scream at the person and make the tape go buzz buzz. So it's like, it's just kinda boring. I personally find the creepy glitch trope very boring. Like, there's something interesting about creepy glitches to me. So I'll give this story a solid 3.5 out of 5. It's good, but not much. I wish I could say more about the story, but I can't really, as there's just not much to talk about with it. Double D gets mad from being ignored, and he's a petty bitch, so that's it. That's really it. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, I guess. Wish me horrible luck, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be going over the other Ed, Edd, and Eddy Creepypasta that I left out, so goodbye.